be the background. It will pave the way for us to study what we are supposed to study in comparative syntax, inshallah, if there is no uh, continuity of this corona outbreak. Don't ask me about the exam, because the exam, it could be even, I mean, we are waiting for the CMZZ to decide on this issue, but probably it will be in September, probably. So do not think about the exam now. So we'll start with Hamza. So the floor is yours, Hamza.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. Can you see?
Yes,
yes.
It's in full screen. Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
You want to take notes, please? To take notes today, please. Yeah. Okay, Hamza.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today, I would like to talk to you about the labeling approach, and specifically a revised labeling approach to long-distance agreement. This is the article I have worked on, but not the only one, because I have also worked on the article on problems of projection by Chomsky in 2013. The outline will be as follows. First of all, we'll talk about a general introduction to familiarize ourselves with the general frameworks that we are dealing with. Then we will talk about what is labeling theory. And after that, we will talk about the problems, the issues that the labeling theory raises, and perhaps a revised labeling theory that other researchers have proposed. First of all, we have to set the constructs that are relevant to our presentation in their appropriate frameworks. Chomsky says that inquiries into universal grammar have to deal with several fundamental features of language, including relations. And there are two types of relations: contiguous, which means phenomena that interact with each other, and this was previously handled by phrase structure grammar, and non-contiguous, that are displacement, morphological discontinuity, linear order, and projection, which was later on named labeling. These aspects were focused on by both phrase structure grammar and transformational grammar. The division of labor in the earliest work assigned contiguous relations, order, and projection to phrase structure grammar, and non-contiguous relations to transformational grammar. However, projection and or labeling differs from the other notions in that it is a theory internal notion, taken from a traditional and structuralist grammar. And what do we mean by that? We will find out by working on the following example. We have two sets of sentences that are both interrogatives that probably both mean the same thing for the native speaker who intended to convey the same meaning. The first one is, can eagles that fly swim? While the second one is, are eagles that swimming fly? What do you think, guys? Which one is the most appropriate and the most acceptable in terms of grammaticality?
The first one.
First one.
Yes, yes, indeed. And what this might suggest to our understanding of what language is. It is that language in general, and minimal search in specific favors minimal structural rather than minimal linear distance. Although we talk about the minimalist program being a very economical approach to analyzing language, to explaining and trying to find an explanatory adequacy of what language is, one of the core aspects of language is its structural relations. Therefore, while we do speak language in a linear order, in our minds, language is a set of hierarchies and a structure. rather than a linear set of thoughts. And minimal search in this regard is an operation that has been argued for and that there has been ground evidence for. Minimal search in this regard tries to link between, for example, here the verb or the modal verb and its verb. Contiguous and non-contiguous relations in earlier years were distributed between phrase structural grammar and transformational grammar. And nowadays they can be unified, namely under the simplest computational operation embedded in some manner in every relevant computational procedure. We call it merge. And this is done via the no-tampering condition that suggests that neither X nor Y is modified by merge, and they both appear in Z, which is the label, unordered, which means that there is no order that may govern which item will be the label. And on this regard, let's talk about what labeling is. Labeling is the process of providing information about a syntactic object. In the minimalist program, labeling is handled chiefly by the operation merge. Minimalist program assumes that labeling is a fixed and automated algorithm that licenses syntactic objects so that they can be interpreted at the interfaces, PF and LF. Labeling operates at the phase level. It is this property of recursion that allows for projection and labeling of a phrase to take place. And in this regard, I would like to share with you an example. We have intelligent students, as probably what you might know by now, a noun phrase. But in terms of labeling, it is a syntactic object that is composed of an adjective phrase and a noun. In this case, the noun is the head. And therefore, the labeling algorithm will select N as the label. This is because in the hierarchical system, N is clearly a head, and therefore it should be pronounced as the label. But in some cases, we have the syntactic object is composed of two phrases, namely, for example, in XP and YP, and neither of them is a head. Therefore, what can we do? Well, Chomsky argues in favor of two possibilities. The first one is to modify the syntactic object so that there is only one visible head. That means the XP copula moves towards a higher position, and in many cases it's raising, with the lower XP being invisible to the labeling algorithm. Therefore, the lower XP becomes discontinuous and it is not visible to the labeling algorithm, and therefore the XP is the one selected as the head because it was raised. The other possibility is to consider X and Y identical in a relevant aspect, providing the same label, which can be taken as the label of the syntactic objects. This is a middle ground, which means that we find a common feature that is relevant to both X and Y and consider the label as this common feature rather than one lexical item that is either X or Y. And the first possibility, which is to modify the syntactic object, has been discussed under the terminology of dynamic and anti-symmetry. And the dynamic anti-symmetry argues for this movement, this raising of a syntactic object to a higher position so that it can provide provide the labeling algorithm with the proper mechanism, so that it can operate and that the computation cannot crash. Whereas we have in this example two elements that are within in the same order and the same hierarchy, we have what we call a problem of projection, and it is acronymed as a POP. There are three possible configurations that result from merge. The first one is gamma equals H, which is a head, and an alpha P, which might be a phrase, which might be which is most likely a phrase. And we have the second possibility, which is alpha phrase and beta phrase, which creates a problem of projection.
So in the first one, Hamza, there is no problem in A.
No,
Yeah,
no, there is no problem because yes, because we have a clear understanding of what the head is.
Exactly.
But in the second instance, we don't have a clear idea of what the head might be, especially because of the no tampering condition, because merge does not favor any particular order. Therefore, it might be either alpha P or beta P.
Because both of them also they are XPs.
They are phrases.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, they are phrases.
Yeah.
The third instance is where we have two heads. And this is also a problem of projection. We have head 1 and head 2. The labeling theory approaches this issue of problem of projection by the two possibilities that we have discussed, either by raising or by finding mutual agreement in terms of features that can be set as the label. In this case, merge applies to two objects, alpha and beta, and forms a new object, gamma. Alpha and beta are existing objects available to this operation, while gamma is a new construct that must be given a label. The nature of human language is that each phrase is headed, meaning that either alpha or beta provides the label for gamma. The question is, which is chosen, alpha or beta, to project itself to give the label for gamma? And this is motivated by three elements that are in the core properties of labeling. Labeling, according to Chomsky, operates at the phase level. And when we talk about phase level, we also talk about the successive cyclic movement. In this instance, a WH phrase with YP as a CP, with YP CP, the syntactic object cannot be labeled, but it must be interpreted if only for theta marking. And it is because labeling operates at the phase level, it is inevitably going to deal with the same issues that phases. Cyclic movement, successive cyclic movement stresses that movement proceeds through adjunction to each maximal projection along the way, and that every maximal projection is a cycle. And therefore, in this case, we have to be very careful about which label to assign. We also have criteria position, and we have other symmetric structure. These were not highlighted by Chomsky, but he mentioned that they also interfere in the relation of problems of projection.
Just here, Hamza.
Yes.
Also, this position, which is when we talk about the CP or complementizer phrase, as you said, it's an adjunction position, and sometimes, or a lot of scholars, each time they gave it like, if you like, a different label. Some of them they called it a focus phrase. That is for them, when you move something there, it's just to focus on. It's like to highlight it. Okay.
Others. I will talk about it, Professor.
Okay.
Just leave it. It's okay. About raise split info split hypothesis.
Okay, yes,
Yes.
because here it's needed. So meaning that this position, because it's a junction, the labels, Hamza, that were given to it, they were like different, either focus or a peripheral phrase. Some of them, they called it even peripheral phrase or top phrase. Top, this is what we have seen so far
Yes,
before.
but Professor, for Rizi, he said that it's not the case. The case here is that the CP projects many phrases, and
Yeah,
among them is the focus and the topic phrase
yeah,
and the
yeah.
finest phrase.
Yeah, so just here, meaning that the problem still persists, given that we'll have fin phrase, top phrase, focus
Yes,
phrase, etc.
yes, of
So
course, yes,
the label is not, I mean, labeling that it, because Hamza, he's trying hard to find, he will try hard to find the solution. So we will
yes,
also raise this issue of CPs, if you like, which is
yes.
a very interesting issue. Okay, Hamza, thank you. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Another aspect that has been criticized or from Chomsky's labeling theory is its dismissal of long-distance agreement. Yes. While the labeling theory accounts for most cases of phi agreement in English that involve local agreement of the subject and its sister, English has been argued to have long-distance agreement as well. Long-distance agreement is agreement not between sisters, but between two elements that are farther away. And in this regard, we should remember that labeling theory argues for the necessity of labeling elements based on its relation, the labeling of one element based on its relationship with its sister. In this regard, long-distance agreement posits a problem. Long-distance agreement is agreement not between sisters, but between two elements that are farther away. English, for example, English sentences involving the expletive there. There is generally assumed to be a semantically vacuous and inserted only to fill spec positions. Therefore, it is not necessarily a goal by itself, and it does not have features that will generally agree with the head or with the probe. This is mentioned here. When the expletive phrase there is merged with TP and generates there TP, a problem of projection arises. However, as we can see here, we have the two examples. There is a person in the room. There are many people in the room. What we can see is the agreement is not with regards to the verb and there, but rather the verb and person and people. Therefore, T probes down and agrees with the associate DP instead, not with the spec. This suggests that agreement can occur between T and the associate phrase lower down instead of the specifier of T. Normally, yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a good thing that you are talking about probing down, not probing high, because for instance, when you say John likes Mary, so likes here, that tense, it probes John to move to spec tense phrase. That is, so that John will be the specifier of tense phrase. Okay, so that's
yes,
probe. So John would be the goal there. Yeah, but if you use instead of John, you use there. So meaning that the tense will probe down. That is, it would like is you have there is probes a person, which is in spec VP, the light VP. Okay, so meaning that a person would that is it will look down. That is, if you have there at the top is lower person, it will be lower than is. Meaning that is or the tense that you have in is it lowers down in this case. When you have a merger of there. Just the question I have, Hamza, here. There, when it is merged, where are the five features? I mean, person, number.
from what I could read, there does not have any five features.
Exactly.
It's just there to fill
Yes,
the position of
Exactly.
spec.
So probably here one of the features that it can have, not the 5 features, but the EPP feature, the edge feature, that is
Yes.
the feature that makes it just needed in the subject position. But the 5 features, they are related to person. It is first person, number. So it has 5 features.
Gender,
Person,
yes.
exactly, gender, number, etc. But there has nothing. But it has that edge feature. Okay, but the
Yes.
edge feature is not necessarily a 5 feature like person, number, gender, case, etc. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's why I ask this question, so that your friends, they understand that there does not have 5 features. That's why is, that tense on is, it will look for something that we'll agree with, so it will go back down. That's why you said that it probes down, and you have the
Yes.
same example in the second one. Okay, thank you. That's
Yes.
I want
Yes.
to.
Indeed. And yes, sir.
Hamza.
Yes,
Yes,
Hassan.
This entails that long distance agreement is a downward operation, not an upward operation. Indeed.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
As the professor has said, and also in this regard, other researchers have argued that a person in this case and people, person and people should be the spec of this sentence. However, DP in both sentences cannot be the specifier because it follows a finite T.
yeah,
And we have to respect the word order in the syntactic analysis.
yes, exactly, yes,
And finally, this suggests that agreement can occur between T and associate phrase lower down instead of specifier of T. And this presents itself as an issue for the labeling theory that argues only for sister-to-sister labeling. Labeling theory claims that the only solution to problems of projection by agreement has to be agreement between XP and YP from which the problem of projection arises. According to the labeling theory, labeling can be operated only through local agreement between sisters. The labeling theory denies the possibility of long-distance agreement. And this is another example that highlights the agreement. Into the room have walked three women. On the desk sits a lamp. In this case, the phi feature of T co-vary with those of the associates DP lower down, an indication that T agrees with the associates DP rather than the locative PP, which is the prepositional phrase in this instance. So
Hamza,
we have yes, Hassan?
just to add something here, this into the room has been labeled as the topic PP. It's like a topic. It's not actually it cannot stand for a real subject here. This is why it is called in Rees's split CP hypothesis as a topic phrase. It is a phrase, but a topic, and sometimes it is dissociated from the matrix sentence by commas, and sometimes not.
did you
So
get no?
yes, so
You
you're
get
saying that
This is in
if this is
accordance with what you have
yes,
said, in
yeah,
the sense that we cannot actually establish an agree relation between the T on the verb walked and the first PP, but we have to look for the real subjects,
yeah,
three
yes.
women.
yeah.
As a solution, Mia Gawa
Hamza, you
and
go back.
yes, yes, Sissan?
So here, these sentences, they violate the extended projection principle. because
not necessarily.
subject preposition is not filled with the grammatical subject. It's filled with the preposition phrase, into the room, on the desk.
Yeah, because
But
okay, Hamza, go
yes,
ahead.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go
Just
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, you answer Tisam's question.
I think that they fill the position of the spec, and therefore they function as a syntactic object, not necessarily a semantic one, a semantic agent of the sentence, but they fill in the needed place of what the subject is.
Yes.
Sir, you wanted to say something?
No, probably the idea here of labeling is that probably I will bring everything together. It's like Tisam is asking, would you call this a tense phrase? Because in a tense phrase, meaning that you have the extended projection principle, satisfied with the subject at the beginning. But Tisam is asking a very legal question. That is,
Professor.
where would three women still be a subject? Of course, semantically
Yes.
it is. Syntactically also it is. But
Yes,
Hassan said that probably into the room and have walked. So all of them, they have been raised to these positions, which are top positions.
Professor.
Yes.
I will provide a solution in my presentation in the sense that within the feature inheritance approach, there is a solution to like these sentences in the sense that the APP feature doesn't need to fill the spec TP. Yes, in the framework of 2005, there is actually a solution for like these top phrases.
What would you provide as an answer to Tisam's inquiry here?
Here there is like there is the like the intervention of the CP. Here, Chomsky, 2005, said that like these sentences, the CP doesn't have actually the edge feature. But there is no edge feature. This is why here the
we don't talk about the edge feature when talking about
yes, especially when we have like topicalized phrases like this on the desk into the room. Yes.
Yeah. Because these are the two issues that are provided in the article. I mean, the expletive, or the merger of there as in the subject position, and also the movement of these prepositional phrases to
the locative. Yes.
Yes. Even though in Arabic there is this problem that Hamza has been talking about.
But
the expletive doesn't.
Hassan, we are working on the standard issue, which is the problem of labeling, or projection.
Yes.
Meaning we need to give labels. And Tisam's question is a very good question, given that she asks about what would be the label. Here Hamza can say, well, this might be a focus phrase or F phrase, what we call the F phrase, or peripheral. Others, they called it peripheral, meaning
or top phrase.
Yes, or top phrase. So that's why the labeling here, that is نسميوها. How shall we call this phrase here? Would it be a focus phrase, or else a fin phrase, or a peripheral phrase, or top phrase? So we have a lot of labels. That's why the question still persists. Go ahead, Hamza, till you convince us today.
Okay, Professor. As this proposed solution, Miyagawa and all proposed that a fee agreement morphology licenses an element to project that fee feature, thus avoiding a problem of projection. Agreement morphology, in this case, function as a projection licenser. The two sisters may share the same 5 features, in which case that 5 feature projects, as we have seen with the common agreement between a head and specifier. In this case, there is no problem. It is the normal case that we talked about in the beginning. Or only one of the sisters may have a projection licenser, in which case that constituent projects as we have seen in long distance agreement. Therefore, one of the sisters that yes,
if you consider the last possibility, or only one of the sisters may have this projection licensor. If you go back to the into the room have, into the, if you go back, which one?
Yes.
Is it have, or which one you think that might be the projection licensor here? What do you think? I mean, just if you might call it, I mean, if you say that
it is have. It is have.
Yeah, because have has agrees with 3 women. All the 3 women
Yes.
is lower.
Yes, okay. And into the room does not agree with exactly. Anything.
Yeah,
yes.
Into the room does not have 5 features, but have yes. So it agrees with 3 women. So, but it's long distance agreement here.
Yes,
so, I mean,
it is long distance.
Or else both of them, because you have 2 options. One of them is that one of them can be the projection licensor, or both of them, I guess. Yeah, like sits also.
Yes.
Sits, you have the S there. Okay. So
in a normal case, they would both have the 5 feature in a normal typical case of.
Yeah, because they should agree. Yes, they should agree. They should license each other. So yeah.
But in problems of projection situations, only one may have a projection licensor. In which case, we can the licensor can look for an agreement, a goal to probe with within its domain.
Yes. But here it's long distance, because
yes, it is long distance.
Yeah, you have the subject which is interfering between. You have something. Have what? Have after have what do you have?
Have walked 3 women.
Yeah, exactly. So meaning that there is an intervening item. Yes, because sometimes they call this like an auxiliary phrase. Sometimes they project it, like some scholars, they have projected this as auxiliary phrase, like that, because they think that have, which is the auxiliary, is the one which is the projection license. Yeah. These are suggestions, but not necessarily exact ones. I mean, you have to prove what you suggest. You have just to prove it. That's what is good about Okay.
Sir, in the exam, do we have to prove our suggestions or just adhere to what others have said?
Sorry? I did not hear anything.
He said in the exam, should we prove our suggestion or just suggest?
Well, not yet then.
Or just adhere to what others have suggested.
Yeah, in a way, at this level, if you can just provide us what others, that's why we are asking just to review articles, not to come up with your own findings. You need time to go. Yeah, you need to practice, etc. After, but what is good is that now you are learning about the theory. Once you can, because it's the theory which is it's problematic. Because one of you could, apply this problem of projection. For instance, Hamza, if he speaks Berber, he can work and he can write an article in 1 week. But he needs this. I mean, he needs the theory. But what is in practice? Like Hassan will work on Arabic, and you will see the way we adopt these theories or these principles or these problems of projections, for instance, here, and we practice it on a given, for instance, sentence. But you are learning about the theory. Yeah, in the exam, if I give you an example, if I ask you to give examples, feel free to use any example you like, even Hamza's example now, like the one with the merger of the expletive there, or the movement of the prepositional phrase. You can use these examples. Why not? Okay, you need now just to prove what you are talking about. Okay, yeah, but don't worry about the exam a lot. Just focus.
Okay.
Sorry, Hamza.
It's okay. So having no requirements for the agreement of sisters solves the case of long-distance agreement and problems of projection, which the labeling theory has disregarded. Therefore, the proposal suggested by Miyagawa and his colleague is stated as follows. as long as no other phi probes intervenes in between. The phi probe on finite t can cross multiple infinitesimal TP boundaries and find the associate dp embedded in the infinitesimal TP. And we can see that here in this example. There seems to be many people in the room. There, as we agreed upon, is an explicitive that has no phi features, but we have seen agreeing with many people, despite many people being in another infinitesimal phrase. But the infinitesimal T is not a phi probe and so does not intervene in the probe-goal relation because it is infinitesimal. In this case, as long as no other phi probe intervenes in between, the phi probe on finite T, which is SIM in this case, can cross multiple infinitesimal TP boundaries as it did in front of us, the boundary of to be many people in the room, can cross multiple infinitesimal TP boundaries and find associate DP embedded in the infinitesimal TP.
Can you apply it to the example that you have here?
Yes, sir. We have SIM, which is a finite T that needs a label. Therefore, it can cross the boundary of the infinitesimal T to be many people. Yes, to be many people in the room. Cross it to look for the DP that is with which it will probe, and with which it will license the phi feature.
Yeah.
So in this case, many people.
Which one is the goal of the finite SIM? Because SIM there is finite. So that just to clarify for your friends, why SIM is finite? Because you could say there seems to be someone in the room. If there is one to be someone in the room, so we will find SIM with the S. Yes or no?
Yes.
So meaning that SIM is finite, as Hamza said. Here, it is also finite, but it's not overtly finite. It's not. You don't have any thing that can tell you that it's a simple present. But because many people, the finite, it's third person plural. So meaning that these five features. Just the question is, the five features that you have in many people, are they similar to the five features that you have on SIM there, Hamza?
I'm sorry, Professor?
Do you think that the five features that we have on many people, that is many people, it would be the third person plural, we don't know masculine plural, masculine or feminine, it's not gender here, it's not a problem, but at least person and number, you have it on many people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about SIM? So
we do have it on SIM.
Yeah,
yes,
we do.
Sir, we just said it. Yes, we do.
Probably you mean person and number, but gender, no. Yeah, but at least person and number. We have these five features on SIM.
Yes.
There.
Well, depending, as you said, sir, on the language.
Yeah.
Depending on the language, sir, that we're dealing with.
Yeah, depending on the language, because if you translate this into Arabic, you will not have the same, because you can say يبدو أن هناك رجال how do you say that? في البيت, and you can say يبدو أن هناك رجل في البيت. So يبدو, it will not change as yeah, it does not. I mean, it's not the same in Arabic. But of course, there you understand that because Arabic is because you are talking about here about VSO language, not an SVO language. So the edge feature here is not that strong like in English. Okay, that's yeah. Just one more question, Hamza, before you move. Does SIM probe many people or it probes there? Just for your friends to understand it. SIM, which one does it probe? Many people or there?
It probes many people.
Yeah, because of the color.
Yes, I made sure to color code them so that they can see. Yeah.
No, just to remind your friends that this is the way it works. Yeah, thank you, Hamza. Go ahead.
Yeah. The theory that the researchers suggest also successfully predicts raising. The subject of an infinitive TP will keep moving until it lands the specifier position on a finite T. And this is the case of there. There is a solution, an answer to the extended projection principle and also to the raising issue. Yes. Because there is no subject, we had the need to move up there to the position of the spec, so that we can have the so that we can fulfill the extended projection principle.
Yes.
Yes.
We moved there up because if we consider the original sentence was many people seem to be there, but here we have in the room.
Yeah, because at the beginning, Hamza, you talked about merger of there directly in that position. Yes. Now you are talking about move. I don't know. Yes, that's a question. Yeah, what Tisam is asking is a good question. If you think that there means like adverbial, but there is not adverbial. There is like it is taking the nominal features of the subject, nominal features, but although without 5 features, but it is taking a position of a nominal subject. So do you consider there like move to that position as Tissam said? If you consider that that is at the lexical era, you will say many people seem to be in there, but you have in the room. Yeah, you have in the room, which is the adverbial, the real adverbial. So there, it's not the one which is qualified to be like adverbial, but it is the one which is qualified to be merged in that position. Because you are talking about move, I'm expecting, because when you talk about this, you are talking about probe and goal. When you talk about probe and goal, you have to talk about agreement more than you talk about movement.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
yes,
more.
Sir. It's just on a side note that this theory, that this proposal that the researcher have come up with as an answer to the labeling theory can also successfully predict raising. And in this case, the raising would be actually the many people seem to be in the room. And in this case, the many people raises to the position of spec.
Yeah.
This is the actual raising. Because we don't have a raising, we have it there functioning as an expletive to fulfill the extended projection principle.
Yeah, even many people, Hamza has raised from the big VP to the light VP, to from spec VP there to the spec VP of the light VP, because now it has to need to move to the functional projection, which is the light VP, not the lexical big VP. Yeah, it has to move. Yes, so many people has undergone movement. Yeah, anyway, yes. Yes. Otherwise, you know why, Hamza? Otherwise, SIM would be too far from many people. Now, imagine many people in the lexical big VP. What do you have higher to the VP, big VP? You have the light VP.
Yes.
And what do you have above it? Infinitival phrase, to be. That's another tense phrase. Then you have SIM, which is another tense phrase. So you have tense phrase number 1, and the upper one where you have their SIM. So it will be SIM will probe many people, but from too far, you know?
And it will not be economical. Yes.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's costly, very. Yeah, it's by procrastinate. This one will be because procrastinate says that you have to look for the one which is less costly. That is with the minimum of movement. Yeah, you cannot move. That is, you cannot have this long distance agreement through. I mean, it will be above 2B. That's a phrase, and above many people, which is also the light VP. So it will be a agreement above like 2 other projections. It's too far. It will not be. It will be costly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
As an implication to the proposed solution revision to the labeling theory, the researchers ask this question: is there any long-distance WH agreement in any natural language? And they gave the example of who lived.
Yeah.
But who lived might proposes that actually there is a long-distance WH agreement. But unfortunately, the CP in this case has no specifier, and we also don't run into a problem of projection in such a situation. So we wouldn't be able to know the original labeling theory and and the revised version in the case of WH agreement, unless further research by you, my classmates, and by you, professor, works on this and try to provide an answer to this question that the researchers have raised as an implication to their revised version of the theory. My reference consisted mainly of projection of problems of projection by Chomsky 2013, and the revised labeling approach to long distance agreement. And thank you for your attention.
Very
I
good.
hope it was beneficial
Thank you,
for you.
Hamza.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Hamza.
Thank you, Hamza. Thank you so much, Hamza.
Thank you. It was.
Thank you, Hamza. Good work.
Yeah, you made it easy, but I mean, great for your friends, given that I know that they have learned from you, given that you have given some examples. Just Hamza, probably this problem of projection that Chomsky talked about in 2013, till now, people they are still working on it. I mean, because before
Yes.
it was easy in the phrase structure grammar and government binding when you talk about the head. The head, it's the head that projects, etc. Now we have this problem. Yeah, but probably it's some of those scholars, they relate it now to features. Some others, they relate it to the functional projections. That is, others, they relate it now to phase theory, etc. So probably you will discover all these by your own, inshallah, in the future. But I think it's a very, it would be even a very good inspiration for a research project in the doctoral program. I mean, we hope that someone can work on something like this, like phases, like features that or types of features that Yunus talked about before, etc. So there are a lot of things, or even what Shema talked about, etc. So there are a lot of issues that might inspire you, might tell you that there are a lot of things to discover. I mean, this is a field that you can where you can discover things. Just one last question, Hamza. Do you think that now there is a solution for this problem that Zakaria raised? I mean, the issue that he raised last time and your friends. Do you think that when we merge, there is a kind of projection? Because you did not. I mean, there are issues that you could have included from the article. Then when you have the VP with the DP, etc. I wish you could involve that, but I advise your friends just to go back to the article, and there is a solution there where they include. Yeah, Hamza, he talked about the raise-in. That is when you move the XP subject. Yes, here, Hamza. Yes, in A, when you move this XP subject. Okay, so when you move this XP subject. Yeah, there that might be a solution. But in the article, do you have the article at hand? No, Hamza?
The article on projection by Chomsky.
Yeah, there is a tree diagram there. Probably can. No, not by Chomsky. The one that these Japanese scholars wrote.
Yeah. I can share it, Professor.
Yeah, can you share it if it doesn't take place? Yeah. Yes, just move on, please. Here it starts like in 3. In 3, look, read what you have in 3 there. That is above there. Yeah. No, this is what we see in 3, having the DP vacate. Okay, can you read? Just to
Yes.
read, friends, so that they can.
A way to provide a unique label for gamma is to have one of the members move out of the structure, leaving just one member of the pair of gamma. This is what we see in example number 3. Having the DP vacate its original position leaves a small VP as the sole member, allowing it to project and giving gamma an appropriate label.
You understand now? Because here we have gamma or VP. That is, what would be the structural object there? You would say DP or VP. Here, what does it say, Hamza? It says that the VP will be, that is, we will label it as VP because DP will move. So the only item that will be left there is the light VP. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah, because movement,
Yes,
this is what you said. You said raise in. So the DP, when it moves to spec tense phrase there, so meaning it will leave its position vacated, that is empty. But
yes.
so what is left there is the light VP. That's why the light VP, it will say, I am the only one now in the area, in this domain, so I will project, okay? So that's one, just one of the, I would say one of the solutions. That is, when we have raise in, it's easy. Well, it's a bit easy. Okay, okay. I mean, additional element. Okay. Anyway, I think I advise your friends just to read. You go back to these phrases 3 and 4. Read about them, and probably you can get more. What? Yeah. Just we don't have enough time to have every detail, but I think that if you read, it's easy to understand.
Sir,
Yeah.
which of these solutions do you agree with as the solution to the problem?
Yeah, this is one of the solutions that is raising here. No, raising. I mean, raising.
According to you.
According to me, well, it depends, because when we work on Arabic, you have a lot of issues. You cannot decide, but because now we are talking about what we call the shell structures. Shell structures, what does it mean, shell? Shell, it means like when you have this light VP above the big VP, meaning that these shell structures, they will dissociate the phrases, and each one will have a job. So meaning that they say that above the VP, you have a small VP. Above the NP, you have a small NP, etc. So the shell structure that Larson is working on now in 2018 is providing some of the, if you like, the solutions to this problem of projection. But for me, I worked on DP. Yes, the DP also, the light DP, it's the same problem. But because we talk a lot about movement, because movement is part of this of the solution for this problem of projection. So whenever there is movement, there is a solution. But the problem is that when there is no movement, that is when you work on in situ, or what you call base generation generated structures, that is when structures do not move. So it's there where there is a problem, and the problem is still persistent. But whenever there is movement, so the one that is left, like the VP here in 3 or 4, it's the one that will project. Because DP, when it moves, it will project also another phrase, upper, and you will find upper DP, but lower you find light VP. So the DP, when it moves, it will become stronger in the position, for instance, in spec tense phrase or whatever. So meaning that in spec tense phrase where you have DP there, that DP, it will project a whole DP with the light DP, etc. So as I said, the shell structure, you can read on it. I have just written an article on shell structures in Arabic. But these shell structures, or raisin, as Hamza, because Hamza has given you 2 examples of raisin and the merger of the expletive, because we are talking about English. But also he talked about the raisin when he talked about prepositional phrases, etc. So my answer is that the shell structures and raisin, these are 2 issues that can provide solutions to the problem of problems of projection. Also, Hassan now it should be ready by now, and he will provide some solutions. But he will focus on Arabic. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Hassan. Yes, please.
Yes.
Floor is yours. Would you make it? Would you zoom it, please, a little bit, Hamza? Hassan.
Professor, I zoomed.
That's the maximum. You have the same problem like.
Can you see now? No, it's
I can see. Just,
it's diaporama. It's in a diaporama.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
What about now, Professor?
That's fine. That's fine. I can read. I mean, just to make it easy for you friends and comfortable. They are comfortable at home. Just they need to be more comfortable with your presentation.
Maybe try with F5, Hassan.
Like what?
F5. Like F5 on the keyboard.
F5, yeah. Yeah, better.
What about now, Professor? It's
Yeah,
in
it's,
a
no, it's
diaporama
fine.
form.
It's fine. It's fine like that. It's fine.
Is it in the diaporama form?
No, it's fine.
No, it's not.
No, it's not, Hassan.
Because I entered the diaporama form. This is the problem.
Can you try the other?
I think it's because you're not sharing the desktop.
No, I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it.
You're sharing just
Are you sharing the desktop or the PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint, yeah.
The PowerPoint.
Try sharing the whole screen.
Yeah, the whole screen, yes.
Stop sharing, then share back again the whole screen. Select the desktop.
Yeah, select this desktop. Sharing, yeah, you click on sharing.
Yes.
Hassan? Click on sharing, then you share the whole. Yeah. Click. No, you click on the desktop twice, I think.
What about now?
Like this. That's it.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Hassan.
So, hi everyone. As you can see, the topic of everyday's presentation actually is a continuum of what Hamza has been talking about, and it is laying the ground for Nasser Dean's presentation in the next week, actually about
Tomorrow.
I think tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow about VPs in Standard Arabic, because there is a link between these three presentations. So agreements in Standard Arabic VCO and CVO word orders, a feature-based inheritance approach. So the outline will be as follows. So the first thing is an introduction. We will be talking about mainly the agreement asymmetry, the notion of the agreement asymmetry in Standard Arabic and in relation to some other languages. And we will tackle an example of by Mohammed called the null expletive hypothesis, in which I will show how the problem of agreements was tackled before the minimalist program, meaning in the area of in the period of government binding theory. And then we will see agreement and minimalist analysis with Sultan's study, 2006 null pro analysis. And here, the focus will be on the early version of minimalist program. Actually, the focus will be from the 90s to 2000 and 2001. And because after that, with recent development in minimalist analysis, the author will provide an alternative analysis based on the publications following phases. I'm talking about the period of 2004 and 2005. We will see the morphosyntactic derivation of VCO and CVO orders in Standard Arabic, how the clause structure looks like when we derive a real sentence in the VCO and the CVO order in Standard Arabic, and we will see the phenomenon of full agreement and the partial agreement, how it is compatible with what Chomsky has provided as a feature inheritance approach, and what the author Faqih has provided as an alternative solution for Chomsky's 2005 feature inheritance approach. We will see all of that in the following slides. So the first thing is the background. So agreement patterns on the verb morphology in Standard Arabic are associated with the word orders. So as you may know, we have two word order variation. We have the VCO and the CVO. Mainly the VCO in Standard Arabic is the unmarked case, and the CVO for us, Standard Arabic, is the marked case. And here actually in the CVO lies the lots of problems of the subject, problems of features, lots of problems. Agree? Yes, yes, Professor.
You'd better say SVO, not C. It's an
yeah.
SV.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Just yeah. Thank you, Professor. And agreement asymmetry in Standard Arabic, and actually it's found, Professor, in, we can say, in French and in Russian also. It's sensitive to word order variation. These languages in which, for example, there is a word order variation, they exhibit a certain difficulty for I will say the linguistic theory provided by Chomsky. Why is that? Because the agreement asymmetry was seen by Chomsky as contradicting his universal condition within the linguistic theory that he was providing. Because Chomsky was actually seeking a unified account in agreement. And languages like Standard Arabic, in which there are variation in word orders, shows a difficulty in the sense that there is no unified accounts. We will see in the pre-minimalist area that there are lots of theories associated with the SVO and the VSO orders. Every theory tries to explain and analyze each order by each own.
Though most scholars, Hassan, they think that the VSO is the basic, if you like, order that we have. Okay.
Yes, sir. I said the marked.
While
the unmarked.
While SVO is derived. For them, that is nobody agree. I mean, nobody acknowledges that because some people, they think that it's question of flexibility of the language, etc.
No.
But still, there is one basic which is VSO, and one which is derived, which is SVO. Yeah.
Even old grammarians, they.
Yeah.
Yes, Yunus.
In fact, what I've read is that it was due to the language contact with French and with French mainly that we have the new word order that is SVO in Standard Arabic. Because if we didn't have contact with French, we wouldn't have this new order, because classical Arabic does not. Only this modern Standard Arabic which allows this flexibility between the two.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Professor?
Yes, Hamza.
I'm sorry. I think Yunus, about classical Arabic. I think we have both orders in classical Arabic. Not only the order VS.
It's not that it's that it became more dominant, the SVO. It's not my opinion. It's what I've read.
Yeah,
but I think that yes, Zakaria.
Hamza? It's okay. You can go ahead.
Hamza?
I think that some linguists have proposed that SVO as a principle, as the core, and other variations, for example, VSO, as parameters, as exceptions to what the rules are. They argue that every language in its core nature is SVO, and it being exhibited as VSO is only a parametric difference. This was argued back in the principal and parameter, I believe, era.
Well, but Greenberg Universals in 1960, I mean, Greenberg, he talked about that is any language which is basically a VSO can have, as Hassan said, can have the marked SVO, but not vice versa.
Yes, yes, Professor.
Yeah,
This,
English.
yes.
This is one of the universals. I mean, one of the Greenberg Universals in 1960. I mean, he talked about this and he said a lot of languages are SVO languages. So those SVO languages, they can never be structured like VSO. But VSO languages like Arabic, they can have the other possible typological word order, which is SVO. So VSO can derive SVO, but not vice versa. That's one of the, I'm talking about the universals, but I do expect Hassan to explain it in terms of features, inheritance.
Yes, Professor. Yes, this is the problem. We can talk about this theoretically, but when we come to the practical issues, we will notice that the VCO is the clean, I will say, order. But the CVO order is the problematic one because it is the marked case. This is shown in practical side when when we try to analyze the derivation of the two orders.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
I think even the tense plays a role in this order.
Yes.
I guess.
Oh, yes.
When
yes.
When the verb is in the present form, it tends to when it is in present form, it tends to be to follow the subject.
Yeah.
And which is in the past, it tends to precede the subject in Arabic. For example, we can say when we speak in present form, we would say Allah يبارك فيك. All right, but if we are going to have the verb يبارك in the past, it would be بارك الله فيك.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it.
Yes.
And but also there are problems with Arabic, given that you say الرجال يذهبون إلى المسجد, for instance, but you cannot say يذهبون الرجال إلى المسجد.
Professor, we will come to that,
so,
please.
Yeah, we will come to this. So these are the issues that Hassan will talk about.
Yes,
I mean,
we'll
explain according to these 5 features, etc.
Please, Professor, step by step. I showed you first that my presentation is divided into 3 periods. Yes. So you cannot expect me to talk about this in the first period, which is based on the government binding theory. So I will talk about this within the first version of minimalist program and the latest version, 2004 and 5.
Okay, Hassan, don't be angry. Hassan.
No, Professor, no.
Pardon our excitement.
No, Hamza, you are welcome. All of you are welcome.
No, Hassan, I just raised the issue of VSO and SVO. Oh, that's it. It's your friends that raised the other. It's not
me. Thank you, Zakaria. Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah.
So, as you can see here, I have just given the one example from the pre-minimalist analysis on agreements. So it is located from I would say, the 50s to the 80s. This area actually was characterized by, first, the notion that agreement was determined under spec head configuration. So every operation that tends to establish a relationship of agreements, it is focused on the relationship between the spec and the head. So we cannot look for an explanation of agreement beyond these 2 elements. So the spec is mainly positioned in the spec TP, and the head is always manifested in the tense, or the T of the TP. So according to Muhammad, Muhammad has the null expletive hypothesis. I will give examples. In VCO, so the VCO is the first layer here. Sentence's partial agreement on the verb is the result of a relation between the verb in info and a third person singular expletive pronoun in spec TP. How is that? So here for Muhammad, the relationship in the VSO is actually established not between the, I would say, the subject in the spec or the VP internal position and the verb in the info position, but rather between the spec, or I would say the spec IP, between the pro, the expletive, and the verb. Like here, جاءت طالبات. Here, someone of us having that knowledge of government binding theory and agreements would say that we have to expect that the agreement relationship has to be between the info verb here in this position and talibatu. So why it is that the agree relation here is between the spec pro or the null pro, which is in Arabic we say it's like the damir mustatir. Even if we have like the real subject here, Muhammad, stick to the analysis that the pro, the null expletive here, which determines the kind of the agreement we have here. Here we don't have full agreement. Here we have partial agreement in the sense that here the info is not full, doesn't have all the features. What's your opinion, Professor, here? Professor?
Yes, sorry, I have
is the null expletive for Muhammad here, is that powerful to be in a agree relationship with the verb in the info position instead of having establishing an agree relationship between the subject in the spec internal VP and the verb?
Yeah, but I don't agree with Muhammad in here.
Yes,
Pro
and Fasil Fihri too.
Yeah, pro
Yes.
here, pro is does not have the 5 features
Yes.
that would be probed as a goal in that position. While talibatu would be probed down as where it is, and it will probe to 5 features because ja'at, it has at least gender, okay?
Yes,
Person and gender, but not
yes.
number.
Not
So
number. This is because partial agreement. Actually, I found that even within the minimalist accounts and the minimalist accounts,
Yeah.
what's good, what's common is that a partial agreement is determined by gender, what is called, I will explain later in Sultan's view, as class feature. It is important. This feature in standard Arabic for both the VSO, and the SVO. It's important. I will explain this idea. You must have this class feature in both orders. But some other features like EPP, you can't, for here, the EPP is eliminated here, for example, extended projection principle.
But still,
it's not necessary for accomplishing agreement.
Yeah, but Hassan, if tense that you have in ja'at probes talibatu to move to spec IP, you would have a talibatu ja'at, no? It will not need number as the 5 feature, I mean number. Ja'at would be correct. You say talibatu ja'at.
Talibatu?
Ja'at. Would it be correct?
Talibatu.
The others, what do you think? Would it be correct in Arabic to say that? البنات جئنا. Normally you should say الطالبات جئنا.
Yes.
But would you accept جاءت that is without this 5 feature of number? Would it be correct in Arabic?
Yes, but because we say جاءت الطالبات in a sentence where you have ESO.
But normally the 5 features, that is, if talibatu moves to spec tense phrase or IP that Hassan is suggesting here, I mean, it should agree with all of it. So it wouldn't. It should, because the agreement before between the spec IP and I or tense there, it should be full there. That is,
Yes.
all the 5 features they
Therefore,
should be checked against each
therefore,
other.
agreement here in Arabic depends on the order, right?
Yeah, that's it. So in
Yes.
SVO, you would it would agree that is you would have الطالبات جئنا, not
China,
جاء.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And this is one of the shortcoming of actually of this analysis.
Yeah.
And the author will provide an analysis, another alternative analysis by focusing on the features of T, in the sense that in full agreement, to establish a full agreement, you have to consider that your T has all the full features. And I will come to this in Sultan's early minimalist analysis. So let's see the SVM. So for Muhammad, in SVR order, full agreement is achieved and determined by the proverbial noun phrase. Here it's the case, Professor, what you have been talking about. So when you say al-awladu, wasalu, so wasalu and al-awladu, it's in spec-head relationship. But the agreement is full in the sense that the info has all the features. You can say al-awladu wasalu, but you can't say al-awladu wasala or al-awladu wasalat. It should be licensed for a number and for gender and for number and gender, and the last one?
Person.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Professor.
So at this level, Hassan, do you believe that number as a 5 feature? Please, when you pronounce it phi, not phi. Phi is one of the Greek alphabet, like alpha, beta, gamma, and
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so they are pronounced as such from the origin language. Okay,
yes,
this
you,
the
sir.
alphabet of the Greek language. Yeah, so meaning
It's just a problem of accommodation.
Yeah, okay,
we have to yes, we have to adopt our phonetic system.
Yeah, but do you think that number as a 5 feature is the one that probes I mean awladu, which is the goal, that probes it and motivates it to move to the spec IP, or it's the whole all the 5 features? I mean, it's just a question. You are not supposed to be a scholar to answer my question, but what do you think?
What I have read from the literature in the SVO order position order here, that's what motivates probing here is that all the features, all the 5 features. It's not like the VSO order in which just the class feature, gender, which motivates the agreed relationship. So all the features, and I have actually proof and I have examples in the following slides, in which I will consider all the 5 features. Full agreement.
Hassan, in one of my articles, I gave the example, a contradicting example from the Quran. In the Quran, you have جاءت نسوة في المدينة. I think in Yusuf, in Joseph verse, جاءت نسوة إلى المدينة or إلى المدينة. I think
you went to that problematic expression, niswa. Even though niswa itself is problematic when it is compared to nisa, and how could it be in this position? It would be more problematic. By itself, it is problematic. Niswa.
You would say that I mean, the language of the Quran is classical Arabic. Yes. Probably in classical Arabic is accepted, but now if you say it, people they would say no. جاءت النساء. Yeah, not niswa. Okay. Anyway, okay. Just that was an example. Okay, go ahead, please.
So what we have to.
Professor.
Yes, Senator.
Also, so this reminds me of the example that you have mentioned once during the sessions that you gave. The example of جاء الرجال. So when it is like an SVO, there is a full agreement. Like we can say جاء الرجال and we can say جاء الرجل. But when it is a VSO, we cannot say جاء. When it is a VSO, we cannot say جاء الرجال and جاء الرجل. But when it is, but when I say الرجال, I cannot say الرجال جاء. I can say الرجال جاء.
That's why
جاء.
Yes, that's why Nordin I asked, because normally it's person and gender that are, if you like, strong five features in as tense features, or five features in general in sorry, five features in Arabic. But that's why I asked Hassan, is it number feature, the five feature of number? Is it the one that probes الأولاد to move up? That was my question. I mean, yeah, probably. Yes, Nordin, what you are saying would say yes. That is, would answer, the answer would be yes, because it's number that makes the difference. It's not person and gender. Otherwise, he would say الأولاد وصل, and it would be correct, but it's not. So meaning it's the number, it's the five feature, which is the number, which motivates or which probes الأولاد, that is probes it. What does it mean? It forces it to move to spec IP.
Professor, even though الأولاد وصلت is problematic, I said all the five features, Professor.
Okay, but
what about الأولاد وصلت?
No, but there, no, you are going, you are dealing without all the five features, because they have to be checked against each other, and when you have, so I mean the sentence will crash, because these ones they should I mean agree in the overt syntax. I mean before at PF, because they should be achieved. I mean when we say وصل الأولاد and الأولاد in spec VP, at that level of PF, where they should check and be eliminated, because by the end we should have a sentence which is interpretable. Yeah.
Yes, because actually the agree relationship took place before the movement of the subject from spec VP to spec IP.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, yes. So what we have to remember from this account within the pre-minimalist approach to agreement is that all the agree relationships are determined under the spec head configuration. So as a criticism for this analysis, Fasil Fihri actually said something which I like, is
Hassan,
that yes,
Hassan,
yes, no.
Can you just, like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to remind the professor, maybe the example that he wanted to mention in the Quran is قال نسوة. So قال نسوة في المدينة امرأة العزيز تراود فتاة عن نفسه. So instead of, so it should not be قال نسوة. Normally it should be قالت نسوة, because نسوة is, so when I talk about gender, normally we should say قالت نسوة instead of saying قال نسوة.
It's not the case, Nordin, because قال نسوة here is the VSO order, and the VSO order we have just partial agreement. قال نسوة. We can't say قال نسوة, but the reverse, نسوة قالت, not نسوة قال. Here it is important. For نسوة, for just نسوة.
Yeah, the Quran language is that's al-i'jaz, because there is meaning there. There is another meaning. Why قال نسوة not قالت? This is something related to the interpretation of the Quran.
And actually, your example, Nordin, contradicts what Muhammad says, because Muhammad says that for the VSO order, gender is essential in the sense that it is the only one that exhibits partial agreement. But when we say قال نسوة, there is no gender agreement here, because we cannot say قالت نسوة, قال نسوة. That is contradictory, and this enters in what Professor said, al-i'jaz of the Quran.
Okay, go ahead. You can go. It's
yes.
fine.
I said that for Muhammad, he wants by doing this analysis to provide a unified account of standard Arabic, and most surprisingly to the varieties of standard Arabic. And here comes the criticism by Fasil Fihri. Fasil Fihri says that for the VCO of the VCO of Muhammad, this idea of partial agreements is actually manifested in the in Moroccan Arabic. In Moroccan Arabic, we can have full agreements in in VSO. VSO for Muhammad is just exhibiting partial agreement. But what is contradictory is that in Moroccan Arabic we can have VSO sentences but with full agreement. Can you think of examples when we have the verb مشى?
مشاو الدراري مشاو
مشاو
الدراري.
الدراري. You cannot say مشى الدراري. مشاو الدراري.
Exactly. Yeah.
And مشاو for gender here. We cannot say مشات الدريات. مشاو الدريات. مشاو البنات. Yes.
Sam?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
We have to take into account some dialects. Sometimes we say, I mean, in other places, or something, and we say it for male and female. So what is the explanation regarding this case?
Can you repeat, please? What he has said, Hamza?
Sometimes we can, I don't know, because of sociolinguistic aspects or something.
Yeah.
We say, for example, even for male or female, we say ديه not دي how دي حطي لهي or something like this. Normally we say حطو, okay? لهي,
Yeah.
if for male, not حطي. And sometimes we do this for both male and female.
Yeah. The same thing for English. You say go there. We say go there. It can be anybody.
Yes. Because sometimes it's not a dialect. This will be considered an idiolect because it's not universal, even if in the same region. Hamza.
It is in the same, sometimes in the same region, Hassan. But just okay.
Yes. Thank you.
You speak syntax here.
So now let's actually focus on agreement and minimalist analysis. So here I will provide example of 1993 and 2001. So before that, we have to understand first that minimalist program suggested the elimination of the asymmetry in the syntactic configuration because within the minimalist analysis, the focal purpose was to give a unified account. Why not to give like a unified theory of agreement that can account for the order variations in languages like Standard Arabic without going to autonomous theories, which will be contradictory to the minimalist aspect within the theories in the minimalist analysis. And another thing which is very important to the agree operation within the minimalist analysis is the elimination of the agreement phrases. For Chomsky, the elimination of agreement phrases, or the agape, was motivated by the fact that all agreement phases in the syntactic derivation, they needed licensing of the 5 features. This is why this will not be minimalistic. Will not be minimalist in its self. Another thing, which is the elimination of the spec head configuration. Here, what Hamza has been talking about, the probe-goal relationship is actually a replacement of the spec head configuration. Here, we are not establishing the agree relationship on positions, but on actually lexical items, probe and goal. So let's see this first example. It's Sultan's 2006 null pro analysis of agreement in Standard Arabic. So, building on Chomsky's 2000-2001 recent analysis on agree, Sultan 2006 postulates that T in Standard Arabic has 3 uninterpretable features. The first one, T may appear with 5 features. T has to have a separate gender feature, which Sultan calls class feature, and T may appear with an EPP feature. So I will explain this, and please remind me if you don't understand any element of these 3 elements. I will explain in the following examples. You have to remember that for Sultan, T, which is actually the essential element for making or establishing agree relationships in Standard Arabic, has three uninterpretable features, and the most essential of them is the second one, is class feature or gender feature, which means that in both orders, either the SVO or the VSO order, we will have a gender feature interpreted within the syntactic operation. So let's have the first example of SVO order. So Sultan assumes that the preverbal subject, which is here, that DP, can you see just the TP and the DP? That's the preverbal subject in SVO is base generated. This is what the professor has been talking about. Base generated in spec of TP in order to satisfy an EPP feature on T. The surprising thing here is that the DP is not an outcome of a movement from the VP internal subject, but it is base generated. What can you actually see beyond what I have, in addition to what I have said? What can you see in relation to the agree relationship? Please?
When you use VP like that with that star, it means, Hassan, that it's a strong phase, no?
Yes, Professor. I will come to that. I will come to that because that's actually a refinement from the VP to V star P, because the inclusion of that light V, light function, the functional light V, because there is a purpose behind the inclusion of that star there. I will talk about it when I will be talking about feature inheritance because it is essential. So what you can you see here is that the agree relation is not actually established between the T and the DP. Since the DP is base generated in spec TP, for Sultan, the agree relation is actually between the T and the pro. And this is the problem. And here, why I said that T in standard Arabic has three uninterpretable features. T may appear with 5 features. So here, for agreements, I said earlier that T should have all the 5 features and other features. One of them, the first one, is the EPP feature on T. Do we have the EPP feature on T? Please answer me here in this example.
Yeah, given that.
Yes,
given that
we have it. Base generated subject, DP.
Lexical, just the DP in spec tense phrase. Is it a lexicalized one? Lexical?
The DP here?
Yeah, it should be lexical.
Yes,
one,
it should.
No?
It should be, because it's not an outcome of movement. It should be a lexical one. This is a problem. Professor, just follow me. I want to explain this idea. So as I said, T may appear with 5 features. So we have the 5 features here in T. So how come the T has 5 features? Because as we know, T doesn't actually have 5 features from the enumeration. Where does it get these 5 features from? Professor, the question is actually for you. Here, yes, Professor, and I'm sorry for that. Is the 5 features actually are the source of the pro or the DP, which is base generated in TP? Because this is a problem here. And we have to remember that T, when it comes from the selection of T from the enumeration, it doesn't have 5 features.
You mean the tense does not have? Yeah, the DP, it has those 5 features from the enumeration. Yeah, as you said. But tense, no. Yeah, tense
yes.
features, it will acquire them in the derivation, because it's a question of check-in. That is, it will have to check those features against those of the DP. If they agree, of course, they will be eliminated at PF, but other interpretable features, they will not. They will survive. But given that the 5 features of T, they are not interpretable, so they will be just to serve the derivation there. But the DP, no. The DP it will have its 5 features, and it will.
And actually, it will not, as Sultan said, it will not enter in any agree relation, because the agree relation is for its pro, and this is a problem. This is why I had that question when I was reading in mind. Does pro be qualified to enter in the agree relationship and give the 5 features to T? This is the problem for, and this is Sultan was actually criticized for having said that the DP is base generated in SpecTP, because the author after that will establish the fact that the DP is an outcome of movement. So the DP first has to do its job, which is to give the 5 features to T, and then move to DP. If we follow Sultan's analysis here, we will actually come to lots of problems.
Yeah. Also, if we predict that it's a question of VSO language, meaning that DP of spec tense phrase, it will have to lower down. It will be probed down, not up. And this is a problem, because in the Manus program, the one of the basic principles in the Manus program, it is top down. It's opposite.
It's yes.
It's bottom up.
Bottom up.
It's bottom up. It's not top down. Okay, it's bottom up. So if there is a probe, so meaning that T is the main head, which is a probe. So it would probe according to case assignment also, because case also is another 5 feature besides the person, number, and gender. Meaning that all these 5 features, they should be checked. So T has to check the nominative case also. So DP, if it is somewhere else, meaning that it has to, it will, I mean, probably it will crash in terms of the assignment of nominative case.
And that's why Professor Chomsky actually did an adjustment for the VP phase. Because actually that down top process of agreeing is actually the start, the start or the point of start is from that light V. That light V, before probing with its object, it will go to the functional V and then to T.
Exactly.
So let's see the VSO order. So we are sticking to Sultan within the early minimalist account for agreement. So partial agreement is achieved. So it's the same, even though with the pre-minimalist analysis, government boundary theory. This partial agreement and full agreement is actually established along all the analysis. So partial agreement is achieved. Only class feature for Sultan. T has no APP feature. When we say that VSO order is established, we eliminate here. We don't have actually the APP feature. So the subject is base generated in spec VP. So as you can see here, the DP is base generated in spec VP, and it doesn't have to move anywhere. So here the agree relation is established between the tense and DP, and we have just one 5 feature, which is the gender or class, and we will see this explicitly within examples.
Yeah, but Hassan,
yes, Professor.
At this level, if you consider VP as a phase, and also that you consider that TP originates as a spec of this light VP, meaning this light VP is a phase. So the phase interpretability condition, it will not be the pick. It will not be violated, because the subject also can move to spec tense phrase. I mean, to derive an SVO. Okay, you understand?
Yes,
because
Professor,
it's
because the heads are
it would be the edge of the light VP.
Because the heads are accessible in this operation, Professor.
No, but here it's not the head. I mean the edge, the subject of VP, the edge.
The edge of VP and the edge of TP.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
edge of VP can move. That is, instead, for instance, say, for instance, جاء Ahmed. You can say Ahmed جاء. I mean, okay. So you can
Yes, but
derive a tense. You can derive an SVO because you
yes.
will move from spec from edge of the phase. So there will be no violation of the phase interpretable or input
Yes, Professor,
condition.
but but it's actually complex because when you will read the feature inheritance approach and you will read what Faqih, the author
Same.
of this article, provided in the VS order, we don't have the each feature in the SP in the SPIC CP to motivate that DP movement. And this is problematic, actually. I will come to this idea. What you have said is fine, Professor. But for Faqih, actually, in this order, we don't have an edge feature that in SPIC CP that motivates the movement of DP from from the internal subject VP to the TP.
Yeah,
But
I know.
alternatively, there
Yeah,
is here the intervention of the top phrase. This is why he provided the top
exactly.
phrase,
Yes.
because it is a
Exactly.
topic, Professor. It's not a subject.
Exactly. But
Yes, because
I wanted you to say so. Yes, it's not necessarily
yeah,
the subject that we have in English that is
yes, yeah,
TP
because
subject. No, in
because
Arabic, that's why at the very beginning I said it's a question of the VSO order, not SVO. Because when you say SVO, it's not the one that is parallel to English SVO. It's not parallel to it. That is the SVO derived in Arabic. So it's not the edge feature, but there are features like that is peripheral features, that is
yes, yes,
features outside the sentence, that is
yes,
top. You will even some people they say, is it like mubtada at the top? Yeah, anyway, but it is top phrase. In Arabic, it's not the spec tense phrase. It's not the edge feature as you said, but it's more a peripheral position there. Yes, that's
Professor.
what I got. Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
it's,
Good.
it's great.
That's
It's crazy how much literature has been written about this idea of
yes.
considering
Yeah.
that subject here in this VCO order as
Allah.
being a
Yeah.
topic
Allah.
or a subject. And
Allah.
even Fasil Perry himself, he wrote lots of actually pages about this idea of
Yes.
considering that DP here to be actually a real subject or a topic. Because in practical considerations, it's not the same. Because when you are going to provide labels here, Hamza again, when you are
Yeah.
going to provide labels, it is actually we have to take in consideration the labels. Because if you prove it to be a subject, you have to give it the spec TP label. If you prove the DP to be a topic, actually not
Yeah.
a subject, you have to give
Exactly.
it another label, which is
Or
the top
or
phrase.
F phrase. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
F phrase. Or
and we will come to this analysis. It's provided by Rizzi, and it's
probably has
actually
a
up. Yes,
Probably has a, it would be more a focus phrase, an F phrase, because you will find FP, because it's like
yes.
you put it at the top of the sentence because you focus on it. That is when you say الرجال قوامون, for instance, على النساء. For instance, here, I'm sorry for girls. I'm just I gave the example there. Okay, الرجال, because you emphasize on the rijal in this case. Okay, and
Yes, yes.
so meaning that and here there is a copula, that is, it's like الرجال هم قوام, it's hum, and here we have this copula, okay, which also it's plus tense, it means the plus
Uh,
present, it's not
there is
can.
and there is something very good actually, which I like about this
Yeah.
CP split, which is actually very good. I will come to it and explain it,
Okay.
which is the extension of CP to the VP, including that actually TP, since TP is not a phase within Chomsky 2004 and 5. I will come to that actually. So let's build a conclusion of Sultan. So this entails that T in Arabic is always valued for gender. But when I say always valued for gender, I mean here it's necessary for both orders, but doesn't need to be valued for a person and number, nor for a specifier, which is satisfying the EPP feature, which is what we found in partial agreement. Is it clear? Can I move?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So here comes the real work actually, because
Can we
all what I yes, Professor.
Hassan,
Yes,
with
sir.
with your permission, can we take like 5 minutes break, please?
Yes, yes, Professor.
If you
I
don't
need
mind,
it.
just 5 minutes.
No, Professor. No, I need it.
Okay, okay. 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, thank you.
Just 5 minutes.
No, take your time, Professor.
Yeah, because namely girls, they need to go to bed. I mean, they need to sleep early, but not you. Okay, so okay, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Professor.
Hassan, please.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, go ahead, please. Okay.
Can you see the full screen, Professor?
Yeah, recent development in minima salary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here, as I said, here comes the real work of the article and the author, Faqih. Recent development in minimalist analysis. So the focus here is on 2004 and 2005. Uh, why do you think I included the Operation Agree in this period actually here?
Why did you what?
Included the Operation Agree within this period, the 2004 and 2005, because I believe that
It
there
comes after
was.
the introduction of probes and goals and agreement.
Yes, that's it. But this doesn't mean that there was not actually agreement before that. There was agreement, even though in the early version of minimalist program. But the difference is that in the 2004 and 5, there was an establishment of agreed operation as an autonomous theory, because the work of agreed operation was done by move before that. But when Chomsky established the agree operation, nothing was left for move, just move as a last resort to satisfy the EPP feature. Because all the work here in 2004 and 5 will be actually by the agree operation.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
So
I have just to remind you that I have shared with Shuruq a book which is called Agree to Agree.
yes, I have that book, Professor.
Yeah, so very recent. It's just in January that was published. So just to let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor. So here there are three elements actually that are very important to the establishment of what Faqih called the alternative analysis of agreement in Standard Arabic, because the focal point and the purpose of the article, the author, is to give a unified account, if possible, for agreement in Standard Arabic. So here we'll be talking about the operation agree in one slide and the phases, but not phases, but what is in phases that is related to agree and future inheritance. And then we will give examples to the derivation of the two orders. So first, agree. So agree operation is more consistent with the economy principle of Chomsky. Here what Hamza has been talking about that long distance agreement is in itself consistent with the economy principle of Chomsky, because we don't have actually licensing there. What Hamza has been talking about doesn't need movement, which is in itself costly. And another thing about agree being consistent with the economy principle of Chomsky is that the real work of agree is the elimination and the deletion of interpretable features after being interpretable. And this is how it is consistent with the economy principle of Chomsky. The second thing, the agree operation relates a probe with a matching goal. Ibtisam, you have raised a very good question, I think, 3 weeks before, about the nature of the probe and the goal being active.
Yes.
And I found, Professor, that the two should be active, in the sense that when I looked for this issue, I found actually, let's have this. Can you see this, Professor? Table.
Yeah. Yes.
It's that table. Yeah, this table. So we have to understand first, what do we mean by active probe and active goal? When I looked for this issue, I found that active goal and active first probe and active goal means that both of them, they should have the same matching features. Let's just say, for example, take two.
You'd better give tense and DP.
Let's say a subject and the
tense
and a verb, for example, here tense. Okay. With the old version. Let's just say, for example, that we have someone has came or someone took something. Yeah. Here, the problem is that for that someone, as the DP or as the subject, it should be active in the sense that here, an interpretable features. What kind of an interpretable features does DP has? It is case features on DP. So this is why here it is active, because it has at least one unvalued feature. And the probe itself, which is T, has actually tense features on T in interpretable. In this case, the probe, which is T.
Sorry, Muhammad, to interrupt you.
It's not Muhammad, it's Hassan Ayub.
I'm sorry.
I will,
did you say for the tense? I didn't hear you.
I will continue and then you can Ayub. I will continue.
I just want you to repeat. I didn't hear what you said about tense. Did you
Ah,
say that
I said,
tense
Ayub,
has interpretable or uninterpretable features?
Ayub, I will continue, please, and then you can comment,
I
please.
didn't hear
Okay?
just the last. I don't want you to repeat the last. I didn't hear you. I don't hear
Yes,
the
yes,
last
yes,
sentence.
yes, you will hear me. First, I said that we have to understand that active goal and active probe and active goal means that, for example, we have an active goal as T. The T as an active goal has five features and interpretable, and its agreeing relationship with the subject, which is the DP, has the five features interpretable. Here, the DP will value the uninterpretable five features of T, but T itself, which has, I will say, the case features on T, they are valued. But look, in uninterpretable features, case features on DP are not valued. So they should have the same matching features, but with the reverse. One valued and the other one not valued. Because if you have actually an inactive goal, the derivation will crash. An inactive goal means having all the features valued. This is what we mean by activation. Because having inactive goal or probe means that the derivation is complete at the phase level. And this is problematic. So this is why I wanted just to elaborate on this small idea of probe and goal being active. Did you hear that, Tisa? Because you raised that that question before. I didn't have the appropriate stuff. Yes, thank you. The third idea I want to talk about is that since the probe and the goal are two agreed heads, they must be in specific configuration. Hamza has been talking about this idea of, I will call it and Hamza Saudi has been also talking about in his presentation about the defective intervention effects principle. And Hamza, in this presentation, Shitwi, has been talking also about this idea of a goal. A probe must probe the goal which is nearest. In government-minded theory terminology, the probe must probe the goal that the probe segmenting. The probe segment a goal. So that segmenting goal should be the right goal. We cannot have, for example, in some examples of having some in some examples like some anaphors or some sometimes having that anaphor far from the antecedents, and we have an interfering actually goal. Here there are problems for this specific configuration.
Even Shuruk talked about this binding pronominals or anaphors, sorry, in her presentation.
So phases. So we have to understand that the head of the phase is the responsible element. Yes. Good. So the head of the phase is the responsible element for initiating syntactic operation. This means for us in our presentation today, including the agree operation, because the agree operation, I will actually call it the last syntactic operation. What do you think, Professor? Is it the last syntactic operation before transferring the phase to the PF and LF?
What is it? The question, sorry?
The agree operation. Can it be considered the last syntactic operation before transfer of the phase to the LF?
If agree means checking features, matching the five features, etc. Yes.
Yes, in that sense.
Means, if it means that the probe and the goal, both of them, they should be active, and the probe should motivate the goal to move, etc. So there will be movement, but at the same time there is agree. Yeah, at this level, yes. Probably, if we understand it this way, it would be the last one before we speak of the phase analysis.
Yes, thank you.
Hassan?
Yes, Hamza.
But at the same time, agree in itself triggers the chain of movement and of merge. Therefore, by itself, it is the last in the sense that it happens last, but it also triggers sub operations of move and merge.
So
Hamza, the problem then will be.
So
Yes,
would
Professor.
agree be the ultimate operation? That's probably Hassan's question before phases. Yeah.
Yes, but we have then to question the function of move within the minimalist program.
Mm.
Because Chomsky's idea about move actually was related to agree. You cannot move just for the sake of moving, because as we have seen in that last resort, after the appearance of the agree operation, move has been associated just to the APP feature or the edge feature to satisfy the edge feature.
Yeah, but Hamza, he raised the issue of long distance agreement also. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
But
where movement is slightly considered, not highly considered. So probably you can find phrases where agreement would be between the probe and the goal in a in situ, in base generated position. That is the goal.
yeah, yes.
So, yeah, there
But
will be.
sometimes,
You have just to consider some
yeah,
sentences to illustrate, but still this might be also the case. But Hamza's argument is also correct, given that it's movement and the line agreement by the end.
yes, yes, Professor Scanlon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hamza. So Chomsky postulates that CP and VP are phases, whereas TP is not. And here lies the problem, because when I revisited the condition of having said that CP and VP are phases, and here within the actually the last one, the refinement of the VP, we are talking about the V star P phase. I'm not talking about the normal VP phase. The VP is
Strong.
no longer a phase.
No, the one with star, we call it strong VP. Strong.
Yes, it's strong VP because it's head which actually initiates the operation agree.
Yeah.
But the problem here, Professor,
Yeah.
I found that Chomsky related the CP and VP phases as being phases with its heads having 5 features. And it's actually surprising that this was the only condition. So what about VPs in the sense that
No.
they contain 5 features?
No, also the yeah, they do.
Yes.
DP they do. I mean DPs they do have these those 5 features. Yes, probably
Yeah.
has started with this idea that these phrases or functional phrases they have, if you like, 5 features. But also when you consider the CP, probably your friends they are thinking now about the CP. That CP that they know concerned with the
Yeah.
adjunction of WH features in that position of CP,
Yes,
but
Prof.
also the CP that the C position, the head position, it has features that we call tense
Edge
features, D
and the
features,
edge
also Q features,
and the
etc.
edge and the edge feature, Professor.
The edge feature of CP, no. Yeah, but they do have like tense features because sometimes that C position is filled with a tense that is you can move a word there, a verb there, or an auxiliary there. Okay, so meaning that that position also is related to what we call some tense features, but also there are what we call Q features, etc.
Yes.
There are features associated also with the CP, as we have other features associated with the strong VP or the phase. I mean the VP. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Professor. So, on the third one, which is actually very important to the analysis of agreement in Standard Arabic, is the refinement of the VP phase to the strong VP phase, in which actually Chomsky considered that big V as the head of the complement, and considered that small v, the V star, as the head of the phase, the whole phase, the VP star phase. So we will see how this actually help us or serve the agreements or the agree operation in feature inheritance approach, because actually this is systematic and consistent with each other. So feature inheritance approach. So TP is at the derivative phase, and this is actually based on Chomsky because of the feature inheritance relation with C. Why do you think, Professor, 2005, Chomsky considered the TP to be a derivative phase, inconsistent with the feature inheritance? That word inherent.
So it's the question. The question should be should be
All of
asked
it.
to Chomsky.
Professor,
Yep.
Yes, Sharok. Yes, Sharok.
Shorok, we
if I
can't hear you.
if I may intervene here,
Yes.
Yes, you are.
regarding I was looking for parts in this this is from Chomsky's article on phases.
Yes.
And okay, so what Chomsky says is that why TP is not considered as a phase because the 5 features and the 10th features are derivative and not inherent in the TP.
Yes. What?
Uh,
They are?
They are derivative and
Not
not
inherent.
inherent.
Yeah.
Yes,
Not
they
inherent.
are
Yes.
yes, they are determined either
It's
by
like they are
things.
determined in the derivation, not they do not come as
Exactly.
Yeah.
features.
Please continue, Sharok. They as determined?
That, like what the professor said, they are determined within the course of the derivation. They do not come from the lexicon.
Yes, very good. That was what was looking for, the lexicon. But they are within the feature inheritance. They are inherited from the C, because Chomsky considered the spec CP to be the source of all features. That's what I was looking for. The word lexicon. Then why it is derivative? Because it derives it inherits. It derives the features from the spec CP, because it lacks these features from the lexicon. That's what I was looking for, the word lexicon. And here, why Chomsky called the TP as derivative phase. And this is the start for faqih. Why? Because here lies the question. If TP can actually inherit a certain feature, why not a top phrase? And here there is the argument. You will see this actually clear in the following examples. So thank you for reminding us of that little slide short. Thank you. So Chomsky 2005 argues that the phase heads C and the V star have 2 types of features: the agree features, 5 features, and the edge features, besides a 10th feature on C. But for the TP, it lacks these things, especially the edge feature. We will see why. So based on Chomsky 2005 analysis, it has been assumed that the edge feature of the head C attracts topics from lower positions in standard Arabic. And actually, this is Chomsky 2005. Why he actually says that? Because here it is an alternative analysis. The attraction of actually the movement is by the head C, because the head C of CP has the itch features. It satisfies the EPP features. So as an addition to Faqih's proposal, he proposed that resist split CP analysis top phrase. It is like that. So this is actually the solution for the SVO order, Professor.
Yes.
In the article, this is the solution of the SVO, considering the subject moving from the VP internal subject spec to top phrase there. And there is actually something amazing I read about this this analysis, Professor.
Before
Yes, Professor. Yeah.
Before you talk about you think is amazing, do you consider this as correct? Read these split CP.
Before saying
it's costly again because other scholars they talk about what you call peripheral phrase. I mean, instead of having all these types of because when you talk about top phrase, it could be any one of these. So meaning it's a peripheral position, but instead
yes, Professor.
it's not. But it's in
Yes.
Arabic it's not. Okay, so
But Professor,
probably yeah.
here the problem is that this schemata, the original one, it doesn't have all these phases. Here, the selection is dependent on the purpose. So for us, here it will look like this.
Yes.
We no longer have that, folks, phase and finite phase. It will look like this. So here we will have.
Probably
Yes,
Rizzi, because Rizzi is working on ability and Rizzi. I mean, the work mostly is on Italian language, yeah,
and French, French and English, actually, Professor. French and English. Yes, thank you. So the author argues that as 5 features are inherited by T, here, Professor, it's like a refinement of the all the source of the source of all the features. Because in 2005, Professor, the author, the Chomsky, argues that the five features are inherited by T from the CP, and each feature is inherited by the head top of top phrase, actually from that CP. So that is C transmits the edge feature to top. Why, Professor, do we need the edge feature to be transmitted to top? Because actually the top phase or the top phrase here, not phrase, the top phrase here, Professor, to be able to host or to actually to accept a certain moved element, it should have that edge feature. And that edge features, since we have selected all the lexical items from the enumerations or enumeration, we cannot select again, and we will not have that feature. So the only solution for us is that CP will be generous enough and give us that edge feature to the top phrase.
Probably here you can think of a. I was thinking of a sentence like, for instance, you say, أجاء الرجال إلى المدينة.
I have it.
We will consider my example, then you give us yours.
Yes,
so
Professor.
أجاء الرجال. So here the جاء أجاء so meaning hell. It's a CP there. So جاء would be I mean higher than the subject, okay, which is so it has that edge feature. But can you say أجاء إلى المدينة الرجال? It would be a bit awkward because أجاء جاء there you have tense in جاء and it would require a subject in the top phrase. So that's why it has EF. That is the edge feature. That's my that's the sentence I was thinking of.
It's consistent with what I will explain later. Yes, it's the same. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. So here we have, just to recall two things. The 5 features are no longer actually assigned or probed by VPs or something like that. But in the 2005, the account is that the C gives us all of that, and it allows us to move subjects in SVL order from spec VP to actually spec of top phrase. So we will continue. So then we will see an example of
if you go back.
Yes, Professor.
So if we read, that is C transmits the edge feature. That is, if we say جاء, it is in the C position. And it has tense, it will transmit it to the edge feature of to top.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, you mean to the subject. جاء الرجال, meaning that it will transmit that. Okay, the edge feature. It's like
Yes.
جاء and الرجال. They should match. That
Yeah.
is the feature of, or 5 features of, like gender and what do you have there? Gender, at least gender.
Yes. At least gender, because there is no way we can have the
Yeah,
same.
exactly. At least
Yes.
gender is. I mean, there will be matching of this feature of
Yes.
gender. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So the morphosyntactic derivation of VSO order in Standard Arabic. So in Chomsky 2005 feature inheritance model, the agree operation operates downward. And this is the problem, downward, for the sake of feature valuation purposes. As a consequence, the unvalued interpretable features of this is why it's problematic, because the feature inheritance approach actually reverse everything. It's a downward actually operation. It's no longer a as a consequence.
No, not all the time. Not all the
yes,
time.
not all the time. Yes, just for the sake of for providing an account for like orders like SVO in Standard Arabic, you will have like this schematic about. But
No,
in other,
because sometimes there is a feature inheritance. I give you a very simple example, like as I said last time about what you call construct states. We say كتاب الولد. الولد is definite, so this definite or definiteness feature, it's inherited by kitab. But you will ask, what is definiteness on kitab? But when you say كتاب الولد, we know which kitab also.
Yes.
When you tell me kitab does not have we cannot say al-kitabu al-waladi.
No,
we say kitabu al-waladi. But there is feature inheritance because al-walad has definiteness. It's definite. Al-walad. But kitabu, it inherits that definiteness feature. It has it as D. We call it D feature. So meaning that there is feature, because you talked about downward. No, sometimes it can be upward. That is, it's kitab, which is up, will inherit definiteness from a lower complement, which is al-walad. Okay, but kitab there is definite, although it does not take ta'rif. Okay, يعني غير معرفة. كتاب غير معرف, but تعريف. Okay, it will inherit it from to من الcomplement okay, from the complement. Okay, I'm using Arabic to make it easy to make it
Professor, but it's the reverse. Arabic is very complicated than English.
But I because you said downward, I said sometimes it's up.
Yes, I understood your example. Just about Standard Arabic, it's very complex, Professor.
Yes,
it's not that easy. So as a consequence, the invaluable interpretable features of the functional heads, V and T, and the nominals object and the subjects are valued and hence deleted under the agree relation. So here actually the derivation.
Can you explain the tree diagram for your friends, just to make it easy for them?
Professor, the first step in the VSO derivation starts actually from it's for us why it is downward, because the first thing is that C will give the 5 features to T, but after that we will stop at that level. The second level is that big V, Professor, it has to agree with its object. And here I want to ask you, Professor, a question. I found that the agree relation here between that big VP and object, it's not the case, in the sense that I found that little v, which is the functional, the light v, has to move downward to establish an agree relation with the object, and then go back to its position, and then go back to the T.
No, why does it go down?
Because Professor, I found that big V, it's not allowed to establish an agree relation with its object.
Yeah, because look,
it's the function of a small v.
Okay, Hassan, yes. Okay.
Yes, Professor.
Let me explain.
Yes.
As I said before, that big VP that you have downward, okay, what is it? What makes it different from the light VP? That is, what makes the big VP?
What makes for the lexical item, actually. Yeah.
That is, it's like when some people are moving, they move to a given city.
They move with their luggage, etc. Like that. So meaning it's the position, the first step, stopover. Okay, it's the place where they will stop. So at that level of the VP, we cannot talk about any feature check-in, etc. It's a position where they will land. After this, they will move for. That's why we Chomsky suggested the agar S, agar O, etc. At the very beginning. It's a question of they need these lexical object, if you like, that would be merged. They undergo external merge first. Why they undergo external merge? Because they need to derive syntactic object, that is the verb and the object. They don't need to agree a lot, but at that level they come with their features. They can probably there is a kind of if you like lexical agreement, or if you might call it. But they need to move to little v or light v there. What makes the light v different from the lexical v different? The light v is functional. Okay. Whereas the other one is lexical.
Yes, and it's also the head of the face.
Yes, so meaning the movement, it should be up, as the arrow mentions.
Yes, because the little p initiates the syntactic operation, which is here the.
Probably you have read this somewhere, but I'm just telling you my point of view. So this is it. When you talk about this big VP, the lower one, this is the lexical area. Okay, so here we are talking about lexical stuff. But once we move, we start thinking functional. That is functional features, etc. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And do not contradict, Hassan, the main principle of the minimalism. It's bottom-up derivation.
Yes. Thank you, Professor. I'm still grasping things, understanding.
That's good. No.
I will not contradict everything. I'm just in the process.
Look, Hassan, yes. I see you as I see Hamza. I see a lot of others, very good teachers of English and of syntax. I hope.
Thank you. Even though I find this minimalist program a little bit actually hard to understand, Professor.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard, it's demanding. Yes.
If I find Hassan in Massachusetts, he would say the same thing.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
So let's look at the SVO order after we have seen the derivation of the VSO order. So for the writer, the SVO order demands actually an internal merge, which is called move of the subject. And here lies the problem, because the movement of the subject leaves behind a resumptive pronoun, and this resumptive pronoun, it is called a pronounceable copy, and we will give example after reading this, and we will go back. So the author argues, along with Musab in 2008, that the head T doesn't inherit a feature which initiates subject raising, but rather the subject movement from speak VP to a preverbal position is initiated immediately from the head C by the head top of the top phrase. And this is what we have said actually. Here, what triggers the movement of the subject from the internal VP spec is that arrow here, the edge feature inherited by top from the C. There is nothing that triggers the movement of the subject from that position of spec VP to spec TP, because spec TP doesn't have the edge features, and we cannot have two phrases actually contained within the CP layer, because Rhesus can actually states that's and I want your opinion, Professor. When I was reading Rezi, he actually said that CP extends to the lower VP phase. So all what is included, even though the TP is contained within the CP, it's part from it is part of the CP. It's within the layer. This is why he called the split CP. It's not just the top phrase and the finite phrase and the focus phrase. He considered even though the TP to be within the layers of the CP. What do you think of that, Professor?
Yeah, if we go back to the example I gave you, it means that when you say when you talk about this CP position, etc., yeah, it is mostly related to tense, because when you say أجاء الرجال, meaning that it's question of position of جاء, the movement to that position, okay, in under C. So meaning that probably it will require the edge feature of top that you have there, which requires, meaning, as I said, you cannot say أجاء إلى المدينة etc. and you give the subject. Yes. Probably أجاء there, it will require, it will have that EF, that is the edge feature. But also there are 5 features of T, that is there should be matching between the verb in that position, okay, under yes, C, and the tense features under T. They should match each other. You cannot have, I don't know, for instance, أجاء امرأة, for instance. You cannot say, yes, okay? So meaning that, yeah, so meaning that there is, it requires a subject first. That's the edge feature, but also it should agree with tense in terms of the 5 features. So I think this is it. Probably it's like double. That's why we have this split CP.
Yeah, Professor. Yes.
And also, the other reason is that probably because tense phrase, given that tense phrase, it is mediating the CP and VP, and both of them, they are phases. So yes, the tense phrase should belong somewhere. Okay? Yes. So it should be linked. Yeah, that's why it is more related to the CP. That's why it is a layer under the CP more than it is related to the VP. Look at the arrows. You find tense phrase mostly related to C, but not most of the time related to V. Okay.
But Professor, if we can think of the domains provided by Chomsky.
Exactly. Yes.
Here we can think of 2 domains: the lexical domain, which actually host and hold all the all the lexical items that we take from the enumeration. And we have the functional domain. Can we consider the functional domain constituting even though the TP? Because we associated the functional domain with the CP earlier.
But probably in English possible, but not in Arabic.
Yes.
You know. This stands as a very interesting question. Probably it should be practiced according to the examples that you can use from the data of Arabic. But in English it would be possible, but not Arabic. No.
Thank you. So the last thing I want to point here is that when I was actually reading about agree, I found that there is a kind of agree that can account for this actually feature inheritance here. It is called multiple agree, in the sense that for Chomsky 2005, he said that we have the same probe, which is C, probing with 2 goals: the top of the top phrase and the T of the TP phrase, and this and he called it the multiple agree, involving 1 probe but 2 goals.
Yes. Just 1 probe, which is the C, but you have 2 goals. You have the top, which is the subject, the somewhat subject, and the tense.
And this is in itself actually has its minimalist aspects.
But the problem, Hassan, we are raising very strong issues, me and you. C and T here, this is the first time I have someone that can collaborate in this way. The problem, Hassan, is that C and T, both of them are heads, meaning that you have a probe, probe which is a head, probe in a goal which is also a head.
So a head relationship.
Yes, it should be. That's. But in a way, that's we are following the analysis here. But that's the problematic issue. I don't know. I don't have a condition that Chomsky talked about in mind. I mean, in 2005 related to this, whether a probe which is a head can probe another head. in this position. I mean, like in this adjunct position, because it's not in other. I mean, other minimal domains. I would say possible, but in this minimal domain, which is the CP. Anyway, that probably in the. I don't know whether you have read about this in the article. Do they talk about this question of probing a head, probing another head? C probe? No.
Actually, I found it somewhere, but not actually in the article. The article is actually not sufficient for actually a basic understanding.
But it's a very recent analysis. I mean, it's 2017, I think, the Faqih, no? 16?
Yes,
17?
yes. Yes, it is 16. It is January 16.
Okay. So it's a recent analysis.
Yes, it's recent. Yeah.
And Faqih is one of he's Saudi, but he's one of the best scholars.
Yes,
in
Najran University.
Yes.
So here, actually, we will. It's the final point. We will talk about full agreement and partial agreement, and we will see a data from Arabic. And here, please, I want you to please, I want you to actually to elaborate on this data and give me actually.
If they are not asleep like Maryam and already.
Please, I want you just to elaborate on this data and in terms of agreement, what we have been saying in the 5 features, what Sultan has been talking about. That's 5 features of T having gender, number. Is it manifested here? Why that D is not grammatical concerning the VSO order? It's easy. You have just to read it. A, B, C, D. And we can establish actually a account why there is partial agreement, and then we will see the tree with example. Take some time and read just 1 or 2 minutes, please. We have قرأ زيد رواية. We have قرأ زيد رواية. And we have قرأت الطالبتان رواية. Good. And we have قرأ الطلاب. And we have قرأت الطلاب. What can you say? Ayub.
Hassan.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I think قرأت and الطالب, I think they don't have the same matching features, specifically the gender, because we have feminine قرأت and طالب, it refers to masculine. This is why it is ungrammatical.
What is it? It is C? It is the
No,
B?
I'm talking about قرأت D.
D, why it is not it's not grammatical? قرأت الطلاب.
قرأت and الطالب refers to masculine in Arabic. قرأت in feminine. So here,
please,
قرأت
please,
they don't have the same feature, which is gender.
Good. What you have said is good. Stay with me, please. So you have to establish a link between what you have said about D and C. It's good what you have said, and give me your account why there is partial agreement, because we have clarified this idea of VSL. What you have said is good. This entails that here, what do we need in D? What kind of feature we need in partial agreement? Gender. In Sultan's terminology, class feature. It is very important in partial agreement. If we revisit Sultan's actually early minimalist account, we will find that T should have, it is a must, should have that gender agreement here. But for C, قرأ الطلاب. قرأ is not the same as طلاب. At least it's not gender. But طلاب, الطلاب is plural. But قرأ is not. So here it's not important number. When you say قرأت الطالبتان, قرأت الطالبتان, they agree actually in gender. But طالبتان is dual. So here number is not actually important. So what I am actually accounting here from this data is that in VSO, order in Standard Arabic, we have just partial agreement as far as Standard Arabic is concerned. And here we can have a tree diagram of the first example A, قرأ زيد رواية. So here we will apply everything that we have said. We will apply the what is it? I'm sorry. The 2005 feature inheritance approach. So the first thing we will deal with is in the derivation is that the object رواية, there is an establishment of agreement between that big V and the object, and then V moves to the light V or the functional, and the light V moves to the T, which is here قرأ. and the subject here for the VSO is base generated in the spec VP. It doesn't have
Hassan,
to move.
Hassan,
Yes, Ayub?
Hassan,
It's Ayub.
sorry, I have
Yes,
I
yes.
have something.
Yes.
Here, there is a principle which is called a structure preserving principle, which said that if we substitute like if we substitute a noun phrase, if we substitute it for another projection, it must stand only in noun phrase and
substitute it with what? Ayub? Can you please substitute it with what? I didn't hear you, please.
It should.
Ayub, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, no. Substituted with what? That noun phrase. Are you talking about the subject?
If a moved constituent, if we have a constituent, I'm talking about قرأ here. قرأ, the verb. If a moved constituent may only substituted for a category of the same type, and here we have not a category of the same type because قرأ is verb phrase. We must look for a projection which stands for a verb phrase, VP, not TP.
Verb phrase.
This is the problem with this structure in syntax.
But here, Ayub, we are here actually talking about the movement of the verb from the VP phrase to the TP to satisfy the VSO order in Standard Arabic. Why you are talking about this? In what way?
VSO. Yeah, I'm talking about VSO order, but here the structure in syntax is considered incorrect because there is a principle in syntax which is called structure preserving principle that says that principles.
Do you have the time?
I can tell you what time.
Ayub, please, yeah. Because I am talking about the 2005. So everything that you will give me before that time, I will not accept it. If you can give me something that has been said by Chomsky after 2005,
this problem. This is new because this solves this problem, which because here as the structure preserving principle says that a moved constituent, like you moved the VP, may only be substituted for a category of the same type. But here you moved VP to under TP. And after this, to solve this problem, there is another problem. There is another solution.
Do you think that they are not the same? Actually, T is the host of tense, and the verb is the same.
But you put it in the spec of TP.
And this is actually the structure of Arabic. You cannot find a verb in VP. All of them they will have.
For the VOC, it is not allowed. I can give you an example.
Okay, this structure preserving hypothesis, it's like the old version of head movement and XP movement. So head head-to-head movement or XP to XP movement. Ayub, Hassan did not move the verb. The verb is moving to head categories. There is no spec TP. You are talking about spec TP. He did not talk about the spec TP. He is talking about T, not
T,
spec.
tense. It's tense.
It's not spec TP, Ayub.
Yeah.
It's tense there. It's not a spec tense phrase.
It is consistent with the features of the verb. It's tense there. This is what I said. The time.
He was explaining. I mean,
but it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, he was explaining this according to a VSO order right now. He is not talking about the SVO order as before when he talked about one probe probing like two goals. No, he's talking about the Hassan is talking about the VSO order.
Yeah.
What happens? And he gave you like 4 sentences where some of them are correct, others are not. But he's just explaining this situation. But this structure preserving hypothesis, yeah, it's like it's compatible with the head movement. That is, it's like a move alpha, where head to head or XP to XP movement. Okay, so there is no spec TP. Ayub, sorry, just to.
So, Professor, we can say that for the VSO order, agreement on the verb qara'a, read, which is the outcome of the aggregation, is achieved under the probe goal relation, and the subject remains in spec VP here.
Yeah.
Because actually here we have no motivation for the VP or the subject VP to move to another layer, because I said before that here in this case and it is insisted and emphasized by the author that within the VSO order like that, the CP, even though it is the source of all the features within the 2005 feature inheritance approach, it lacks in standard Arabic the H features. This is why we cannot move that subject from that position. So it is base generated here. We cannot move it. Another thing we have to say about this schemata or this closed structure is that there is a complex probe, CT. This is why I asked you before, Professor, about the inclusion of TP and the CP layer within Rees's analysis, because even though Faqih established this actually very good idea, which is that he said when T is valuing another goal, it is implicitly probing or valuing the C features that are uninterpretable, in the sense that when T inherits for example, the 5 features from C, they have become one complex probe.
Yes.
Yes, and this is the idea here. So they are consistent. So everything that will be done by T, it include this speak or this C of CP.
Very interesting analysis, Hassan.
Thank you.
I congratulate you, and also congratulate that sleepy Hamza now. But yeah, you have done a great job.
Here, Professor. Thank you.
Honestly, I'm happy. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Professor. So we have the last one, and
if you can just conclude that, if you can say just thank you for your attention.
So thank you for your attention, Professor. So thank you. Thank you for taking your time and.
No, but it was very interesting. I think that this is one of the main or the most important presentations along with others. Yeah, of course, I have to admit that there have been some very good presentations, but I think that to some extent I have to admit that you are doing a great job, including Badr, including Hamza. Hamza, the other one. Hamza.
But we are the outcome of your inspiration, Professor. Don't forget that.
Believe me that you are doing great.
No, believe me. If I do great, it's because of your inspiration.
Yeah,
but you don't know how it's like important to me when you can encourage us. It's important.
I did
because
not
because we lacked.
I agree.
Yes, Professor. Because we lacked that encouragement when we were high school students, and even with some professors, even in the in the college here, Professor.
Mm,
You have to admit it. Yes, encouragement is very actually. With your encouragement, I can stay the whole night working on syntax.
I did not,
Yeah.
I did not expect you to grasp all that. I mean,
No,
very
Professor,
challenging.
your expectations and
Yeah.
your comments of our classmates
Okay.
actually
you very
pushed me to work because I
Thank
had
you
to.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Badruddin. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, you have done great job so far. I'm proud of you. So see you tomorrow, inshallah. Okay. If you don't mind, starting tomorrow, like at 9:30, so that we can have. I mean, so that we wouldn't be late a little bit. No, possible? Not possible.
Professor, how many presenters are going to deliver tomorrow?
Just two. I think two is
Two.
enough, and we'll have the
so
rest.
we're going to have another session next week.
Yes, yeah. Even Saturday, if you like, no problem for me. Anytime you like, I'm ready. You suggest whenever. Yeah, but it will be hard for you 3 days consecutively.
In a row.
Yeah, it will be hard. So we'll have like two presenters tomorrow. I think it's Zakaria and Sardin, no?
Nasruddin, yes,
Nasruddin,
agreed.
yes.
And Zakaria. Okay, so okay, see you tomorrow. Try to send us the link and even the video, Hamza, if you can.
Okay, Ibtisam was the one recording. I think that
Yeah, I will
if she can send you the video, because I was presenting and I couldn't, probably it would have been lagging.
No problem. Yeah, anybody, no problem. Yes, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for
Thank you, Professor.
being nice to us and being patient.
Thank you for being nice.
No problem. Thank you, Hamza and Hassan, so much.
Hamza.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, you.
Okay. Okay. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Okay.
Inshallah.
So Hamza. What's Hamza? الميلودي